All right, so let's take a look at the rear end and what changes are made back here. The biggest change was that came after a lot of frustration was to change the rear lower control arms. The OEM control arms from Factory 5, the cast ones, were too long. That resulted in a wheelbase that was too long, and it also forced the whole rear end to be at the wrong angle, which messed up the location of the shocks, messed up the location of the upper control link and where that extended, as well as just made it tough. So I finally, after some discussions and talking with Factory 5, Jim said, hey, have you checked the wheelbase? So I came back and checked the wheelbase. It was off by almost 2 inches. And I got new rear arms from Gordon Murray. So they look good. I would rather not have hard Heim links here. I'd rather have the soft rubber because this is not a race car. This is, a fun driver. But at least the wheels are now centered in the rear wheel spaces properly. I got the geometry that I need, was able to get the pinion angle set and all this stuff. It actually all fits and works. So just a frustrating thing. So make sure, depending on what suspension you choose, just be aware to keep in mind and look at the location of the axles and check your wheelbase and all that kind of stuff. Several of us have gone through and ended up with this solution. I got the Moser rear end with the kit. I found this cute little vent back here that looks a little nicer than some of the ones I've seen. No, nothing special back here really running things. I did put the vent, the carbon canister that came with the kit, I ended up mounting back here. And that's worked out really well. I have never smelled gas. It's been dead, no smell at all. So that's been great. You can see I've got 2 wires leading off the back. The main one here, the big one obviously goes all the way up to the starter. The second one goes to the terminal that I showed you at the back of right in front of the switches on the console. Here's where my wires come out to go to the back of the car. Again, like I said, I didn't really want to run them down the length underneath, so I ran them back here to hide it. I don't know if that was a good decision or not, but that's the way I did it. All the other stuff is pretty much, by the book back here. There's nothing really too exciting. The main panels under here, I had powder coated silver very early on. And you can see how they look. The 2 big changes here, I went to different mufflers. The original Factory 5 mufflers are they're really cool. They sound really nice, but they're really loud. And I wanted something that, I didn't have to scream when I was sitting in the car. I found for short trips, you can talk in the car. Obviously if you floor it, it's gonna get noisy, but I can talk. These are just Dynaflow turbos. I've just been really happy with these mufflers. Just to keep it at the right balance between lots of noise and being able to get around. Another challenge that I had with the rear suspension or the car was these early the Gen 2s, the early Gen 2s. This has been changed now. The drive shaft would hit the frame at droop. And you can see here, it's even now right at where the frames are. So I had limiter straps on the differential, all sorts of stuff. And I couldn't find, as I was getting into it, I couldn't get the ride height I wanted. So I ended up, after talking to folks, realized I got to just cut the chassis. So I cut a hole in the chassis and it actually goes up and around here. There's to make plenty of clearance to the floor. Put some caps in the end here. And then I had a plate, again, our friends at Send Cut Send, I had cut the plate, put the holes in it, and then I've glued and screwed it to the body. So again, I think I've got plenty of strength there. I'm not worried about it. And now I can get to full droop and all that kind of stuff and not have to worry about the drive shaft hitting anything. So this was unique to the early version 2s, and like I said, it's not an issue if you get a new one. Played around with the mount to get the transmission really close to the underneath here, but it fits fine. Nothing's moving, so it doesn't really matter. I've had, it's a small block Chevy, so I've had a little bit of an oil leak. Learned the importance of a good crankcase ventilation system. I played around with the brake lines running and ended up kind of with an in and out system. They didn't come out as clean as I'd like, but what I found is nobody looks underneath the car that much anyway. You can see I have played around with these mounting holes. I actually moved them around. I welded in new pieces to get them to fit better, and so that it's closer. It was just a combination of getting everything to fit there was tough. But at this point, those running board supports do fit. They really are sturdy. You can jump up and down on the running boards. Doesn't hurt anything. So I'm happy with that. This is the out of the coolant overflow tank. On this side, this one is for the air conditioning. I ran my fuel lines. I've got my fuel pump mounted right behind the seat. That's why you have to be able to remove the waterfall. And I ran the lines down the side of the tank. I ran hard lines along the side here. I made more notches. I kind of played around with the notches in the running board bracket to get enough clearance to get the pipes mounted. This is a little insert I made to go in this open triangular area to hold a couple of fittings in place. And then you can see it goes to soft lines to go up to the carburetor or fuel injector unit. Here's my module for the heater control valve. You can see the dryer I mounted down here. Here's my heater control valve over here. Tight fit on all of this stuff, as everybody well knows. All right, on the front, I had, again, some more challenges with the suspension. One of the big issues that I ran into was these tabs. They changed the design of those and went to a longer tab, I think, on the back here. It's been a while since I looked at this. But anyway, they changed the tabs on these. And once I finally got those new tabs, that improved things a bit. And I was able to get the suspension kind of to work the way it's supposed to. I've had a lot of challenges with the steering and getting this to work the way, I always thought it should work. And come on, camera. One of the things here is when you mount the steering in the lower holes, which was another change that came about where you had to cut this bracket. When you mount the steering in the lower holes, you get some really interesting angles here. This one is, this is nothing of an angle, but the angle of this one is really at the limits of what these U-joints are designed for. It's like 34.5 degrees here, and 35 is the limit kind of thing. It's not so good. If the input shaft to the rack was longer, or was shorter, then it would be a better angle up to here. So I ended up cutting about 1/2 inch off of this input. I ended up trying a different U-joint as well. And the steering seems to be good. These don't come loose anymore. If these are coming loose, that means you got a binding condition. Don't think about welding it. You're not going to fix it by just making things tighter. you got to understand why is it binding and what can you do about it. I do have the other shaft here from Factory 5. That's the, it does a 90-degree adjustment, due to the length of this stuff. So pay attention a lot to the steering is kind of the bottom line. This took me a while to resolve, and believe me, when one of these falls off, it's an interesting experience. I think that covers most of it underneath. I did have to get a different fuel pump cover from for this, because the original one from Blueprint was actually kind of not a good one. It was a cheap one, and it leaked. Here you can see, just wiring up to the camera up in front. You can kind of see the camera underneath, bonded to the top. I did mold these two pieces together, here to get a smooth fit. I just couldn't get that, this piece was a pain. A lot of work on this piece for various reasons. It's easy, really easy to break this piece when you're trying to jack this thing up. That was a frustration as well. Anyway, all challenges, and that's all part of the build process. It runs good at this point, and no complaints. Kind of a quick tour of the car, the different things that I did to this to make it my Factory 5 hot rod, which is kind of the whole point of these. So hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be glad to help you out. Thanks.